And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Folks, today we're taking a look at the newest Smash Up expansion, It's Your Fault. Now, the reason it's called that is because there was a voting period where they did kind of like a tournament, and they had all these different factions that fans might like to see, and fans voted on them, and the one I was rooting for, Cowboys, got beaten out by Sharks at the end, thanks to Paul Peterson, and I'm blaming Pete Shirey too for no reason, but that's okay. The game comes with 4 factions. Now, I'm going to be taking a look at these 4 factions, but I want to note that there is kind of a surprise. There's something hidden in the box. The box does not really mention it much. And so if you don't want to be spoiled as to what the surprise is, then don't watch this review. But you're probably watching this because you want to see all the cards anyway. So I just want you to keep that in mind. Here we go. Okay, we're going to start by looking at the Shark faction here. The Shark faction is all about destroying other minions, which makes sense in their theming here. You have the Mako and the Hammerhead here. When you destroy a minion, you get to play this minion as an extra minion. Here, after a minion is destroyed, this guy gets +1 power. This guy's a talent. Every turn, you can move this minion to another base and destroy a minion there at power 2 or less. This guy is like the ultimate against people with a bunch of small minions. The robots, the Great White will take care of them. And the Megalodon here, who can destroy a minion of power 4 or less. And then before the base scores, he can destroy another minion. Of course, I think that would be hard-pressed to think of the Shark faction without the freaking laser beams here, where you can destroy someone that's equal or less power, or destroy any number of minions there at power 2 or less. Again, if you're playing the robot faction, you're not going to like these guys, or the zombie faction, or whatever. Here, whenever a minion's destroyed, you get +1 power on this minion. So you can have a minion, which I would recommend being the Great White Shark if possible, and they just, every time something's destroyed, they get bigger. Destroy a minion of power 3 or less and draw a card. Play at a base, choose a minion there, gets -2 power, and that's not as destructive as the rest. But we also have Week of Sharks and Blood in the Water, and you can see how most of these things are somehow related to shark movies and so on and so forth. And then, of course, Air Jaws. Move a minion to another base, then destroy a minion there that's power 3 or less. So that's the Sharks, all about destruction. Then we have the Dragons. Now, the Dragons are kind of they're one of the more straightforward factions, I think. They also can, they have to do with bases, working on the bases. And so this, whenever someone moves a minion there, they get -1 power. So this guy can kind of mess with your opponents, making them -1 power. Here you get to draw cards. But the bigger dragons here, the Wyvern, you can destroy a minion here, so a little bit like the Sharks. But you could also reduce the break point of the base by 3 until the end of the turn. Here, all their players here get 1 less victory point from the base when it scores. Here you play on a base. Other minions there are -1 power. Here this gives all your minions there +1 power. Here you can look through your deck and find an action that affects a base. Here you can play on a base and everyone there gets 1 less victory point. So you can see that they are all about affecting bases and helping you at the base while hurting other players. Or just, this one is interesting. People won't like it, but it cancels an ability of the base. Especially if someone has a base out that they like, they're putting people at, and you can just shut that down. The superheroes, radioactive exposure. Of course, they could put anything here. You can kill one of your minions to search for a minion with more power and play it as an extra minion, and then shuffle your deck. So get rid of a small one to be a larger one. There's also 5 of these in a deck, mild-mannered citizens, where you can destroy this minion to find a minion that's 5 or more. Now, this set comes with 4 of these 5 or more minions in it, the superheroes, but if you can mix this guy with another deck that also has some big ones, this can be an interesting combo. Of course, it's weird when your mild-mannered citizen turns into a T-Rex, but whatever. So let's take a look at those superheroes. The Awesome Guy. Your minions can't be destroyed by other players. This one gives your other minions +1, Captain Amazing. Then we have the Burst. After a minion's playing in a base, you can move there. This guy can move all over the place. And then Mind Lady, where you basically cancel the abilities of another minion. Oh, I love this person. She is really useful. And then other things, you can give a minion +1 power. They can't be destroyed. You can play it as another minion to cancel their powers, just like Mind Lady. The Golden Age, where 3 minions from your discard pile can come back or into your hand. This Place 3 from your discard pile on the bottom of your deck. This one's not as useful, makes your deck bigger. This one, though, not really dead, is one that I like very much. Each of your minions of power or 5 or more gets +2 power into the end of the turn. I'm kind of a big fan of this whole use big minions because I'm a Timmy player and I enjoy that. And this deck really works with that. Choose a base for your minion of power 5 or more. And then you play a minion of power 2 or less as an extra minion. Then you take that minion and boom, turn him into a superhero. And then you got the secret base, which I love. Okay, anyhow. Now let's look at the mythological people. Here, the mythological people are all about action cards. So we have the Argonaut here, which when you can trigger all abilities that would trigger from you playing an action. For example, the Spartan here. Whenever you play an action on your turn, the first time you do it each turn, the Spartan will get a +1 power counter on him. Great. That's very useful. So when the Argonaut's played, the Spartan's ability is triggered. They would also trigger Jason's ability. The first time you play an action this turn, choose a base. All your minions there get +1. After any player plays an action, they get +1 until the end of the turn. So these have some pretty neat special abilities, all revolving around actions. And Odysseus here, after playing an action, you put a +1 counter on any one of your minions. So very useful. Now, to make up for this, there's fewer minions, I think, in this deck, but there is a lot of actions. And what's interesting about the action cards is every single one of them is unique. We got the favor of Hades, the favor of Ares. These are pretty basic stuff. Minion gets +3, play 2 extra actions. One of them gets +1 power to end a turn, draw a card to get an extra action. So there's favors of all the different gods that you can play. A favor of Poseidon and favor of Zeus. So if you like diversity, this is the deck that you're going to enjoy. Now, even though, like I said, the box said that there was 4 factions, there's actually a 5th faction in this box, which they don't even mention in the back. All they mention that there's a shark delivery system, and that's because they added tornadoes. Yes, the Sharknado thing, and they obviously made the 2 decks to work together pretty well, too, although the tornadoes will work with any deck. And it's cool that there's 5 factions rather than 4. The tornadoes are all about movement. Okay, so seems pretty obvious. Before a base scores, you can move this minion there. You may move a minion of power 3 or less from this to another base, or from another base to here. Move this minion to another base. The monster tornado, move a minion of power 4 or less from here to another base, or from another base to here. And each of their things, which also has to refer to movies that have a tornado in them somehow, like Over the Rainbow or Not in Kansas, are all about moving minions from one base to another, or moving an action on one base to another base, or basically swapping 2 minions. There's just a simple move a minion to another base. Move any number of your minions to other bases, or play after a base scores. You can move one of your minions from there to another base instead of the discard pile. So you can mix the tornadoes with pretty much any faction you want if you want to give them maneuverability. And like I said, they're made to mix with the sharks because the sharks are going to be moving all over the place and killing people. Each of these factions comes with a divider card if you're using the big storage box. And there's also a whole pile of new bases that work with the different minions. My new favorite one, there's nothing really spectacular about any of these. They're pretty much straight up bases. But I like how the Dragon's Lair, the winner, gets 3 cards. So there's all sorts of new of these, and that's what's in this set. Okay, so if you're going to get one of these small expansions, it seems like you'd want to get the one with 5 factions, right? The 5th faction, that was a really neat thing. And yes, obviously it's capitalizing on Sharknado, which, why do people like that movie again? I mean, I like stupid stuff, but that's like, all right, anyhow. But the factions in this are cool. Obviously, people are going to want sharks because they're sharks, and they're going to want dragons because they're dragons. I personally, my favorite one in the box, I think, is the superheroes. I do like the Greeks and the superheroes. I think that they're pretty close, but probably the superheroes. And I think that's cool. Again, the fun combos. Whenever you get a new faction in this game, you're like, wow, how can I fit this into the other ones? Oh, superhero ghosts. Ooh, I'm going to take the dragons and mix them with the dinosaurs. Come on now, that just makes sense. Or the tornadoes and robots. Now, sometimes you do it just because theming-wise it's funny, but some of these are cool, and I like, this is another one of those ones I think is excellent for new people. Now, this game, or this expansion, can be played as a 2-player game, although I would imagine most people buy the base game first and then get this expansion added to it. But this is cool. I always wonder when you come out with this. I believe in the rules here. They say this is the 40. There's now 42 factions. You always wonder, are they going to be able to do something different? Are they going to, jump the shark with this expansion? Why wasn't Jump the Shark in here? Seemed like a missed opportunity. Anyhow, are they going to do that? They're going to make things higher? Is there going to be power creep involved in here? Or are they, what can they do? But these felt different. The sharks feel like vicious sharks going. The whirlwinds feel like they can move things around. The superheroes, you can transform someone into a superhero. That's a cool concept again. So neat expansion. I don't know if it's my favorite expansion. I really like the one with the metamorphs in it, but this is a pretty solid second, I think, which is good because I know they have more on the way, and I'm glad that they're staying fresh and innovative. That Smash Up, it's your fault, not mine, because I voted for Cowboys. Dice Tower Judgment, excellent!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.